Hello everybody and welcome back to artofdino.com and saveearth.us, and I've got a fresh take today on the baby farmers and the artificial incubators of the past, because I think there's a lot of stuff going on that's almost like wishful conspiracy theory thinking, and I don't think it's actually as elaborate as we're being told, like especially the old school stuff. I think more nowadays, in the last couple decades, there's been some serious stuff with cloning and all kinds of genetic experiments that they do in a variety of different ways, from the birth that they can do now and the fertilization that they can do outside the cell. I think that has gotten expanded in our modern time, and maybe in the distant past in alchemy, I have a feeling things like that were also discovered. But I have an interesting take, and it relates. There's a couple articles that I took from around 1883 when the inventor, Dr. Tavernier in France, kind of discovered the health benefits of incubator babies for preemies, and that is still used today. So I want to give you my take on all of this stuff, and I want to start it with a couple readings from the Bhagavad Gita, because I feel like that is very important in kind of getting a basis for what humanity is supposed to be like, because this is a 200,000 million-year-old document supposedly, and its knowledge is eternal in that essence as well. So take a look, or just take a listen to this, and then we'll go into all this other stuff, because it is all related. I'm going to read a few things from chapter 16 of the Bhagavad Gita. So it says, O son of Pertha, in this world there are two kinds of created beings. One is called divine and the other demoniac. I have already explained to you at length the divine qualities, which we all know out there, kind of, or we don't know all of them, but we are guided that way. Now hear me of the demoniac. So here we go. Those who are demoniac do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Neither cleanliness nor proper behavior nor truth is found in them. They say that this world is unreal, with no foundation, no God in control. They say it is produced of sex desire and has no cause other than lust. Keep all this in mind. Following such conclusions, the demoniac, who are lost to themselves and who have no intelligence, engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. Taking shelter of insatiable lust and absorbed in the conceit of pride and false prestige, the demoniac thus illusioned are always sworn to unclean work, attracted by the impermanent. They believe that to gratify the senses is the prime necessity of human civilization. Thus, until the end of life, their anxiety is immeasurable. Bound by a network of hundreds of thousands of desires and absorbed in lust and anger, they secure money by illegal means for sense gratification. The demoniac person thinks, so much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, and it will increase in the future more and more. He is my enemy, and I have killed him, and my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. I am the richest man, surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices. I shall give some charity, and thus I shall rejoice. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance. Thus perplexed by various anxieties and bound by a network of illusions, they become too strongly attached to sense enjoyment and fall down into hell. And so I wanted to end it there with the Bhagavad Gita, and then I wanted to show you these articles right here. So this article came out in 1883, right as the incubators were starting to go from chickens to babies, premature babies. And so listen to this from 1883, The Solution of the Women Problem. Whichever way a woman turns, she runs against a cradle. It is the rock which stands between her and progress. Whether to scale that rock, whether to go around it, or sit helplessly down beside it, that is the question. And behold, across the sea comes the solution of the problem, the baby incubator. It is a French invention, as one might suppose, and consists simply of a glass box lined and padded and warmed by steam. Here you put your baby, you feed it regularly, and at the end of 6 or 8 months, you take it out, and lo, it is as fat and rosy and strong as a child of 2 years old. And one person can take a dozen children through this process at the same time. When a young man marries, he can get an incubator along with the rest of his household goods, and on its downy cushions he can place the baby or the twins, where they will be much safer than with the average nursery maid. And then his wife will be free to run for office and sit on juries and loaf around saloons and usurp all those divine rights of man, which he takes it for granted she is dying to do. No more loss of sleep, no more sacrifice of time and health and peace peace and money and pleasure and comfort in society, all for the blessed baby. Science, which is ever seeking to restrain the forces of nature, has in this case tackled a most irrepressible, uncontrollable power, and we cannot believe that science has come out ahead until we have the invention thoroughly tested by that most independent and unmanageable of all creations, the American baby. So that article says a lot about the intentions of the incubator and about the intentions that the news and whatnot want, and the people in power wanted to steer society, and women especially. And now it leads to all these cat ladies today who have no desire to have a child or become a mother because they've been convinced that being successful in their job is far more important than raising a miracle of child. And that is, I think, wrong, and that is, I think, where time is headed, and the very big problem of the past, which I think will gradually be resolved in due time as mothers start to treat their babies with more love. I mean, if you think about all the nomadic babies, do you think any of those nomadic tribes that have babies ever thought about an incubator? And they talk about the benefits of being warm as opposed to cold, and there's nomadic tribes in Siberia that raise children all over the place. So this seems to me like it was just a profit, that people saw a prophet getting ready, and they saw a way to increase the economy, increase the slavemanship of the humans of the time. And I'm going to show you a bunch of different articles from around that time that just kind of tout the invention and show all these different examples repeatedly. But then this one is very important as well, which I want you to consider. So baby farming in New York, the Cabbage Patch Kids, are they growing babies like fruits and vegetables? No. Baby farming in New York is also connected and to exactly what I just mentioned, that desire to make the woman gain money and be part of the economic slave force. So this article says, Henry Berg, taking as a text the deaths at the baby farm in 164th Street, New York, known as St. Vincent's de Paul Nursery, where it is learned 10 infants have died since January 1st, brings an indictment against American motherhood. This was destined. As for the general prevalence of baby farming, he says, and this article is from 1884, as for the general prevalence of baby farming, he says, it can only be attributed to the fact that American women, especially those in fashionable society, are disinclined to rear children, which is a social problem. Again, not chemical, not human, it's a social problem. It's a sign of something weird that changed over time, because you get that the other tribes and the other people of the world do not think this way. This is a Western thought where the baby is second and third or fourth or fifth or 10th to the mother. So things were going wrong at this point, and no one was really correcting it by appreciating motherhood and the blessings of it, or publicizing it at least. Hence the modern convenience of baby farming. After the child is born, the mother ascertains the address of some woman engaged in the business and sends her offspring to the headquarters of this hardened creature in some unobtrusive place in Connecticut or in some county in the northern part of New York. The mother generally loses all trace of her child, and in most cases, of course, it has been starved to death. This is not an attractive picture, but it is borne out by many facts, one of which is that not infrequently those who manage or mismanage these baby farms are paid a good round sum to take care of the infants. $8 a month would furnish a baby with considerable fresh, sweet milk and leave a good balance. But the wretches who run these institutions make an exhaustive study of how little will keep an infant alive and enable them to draw their pay regularly. The less that the child eats, the greater the profit. No mother ever visits such a place to see her baby. If she did, she wouldn't recognize it, and there is no restraint put upon the avariciousness and heartlessness of the women to whose care the infants are entrusted. So again, you're running into the problem of motherhood as a negative instead of a positive. And this is the way it is still happening today. So many mothers that I know about, and now that I'm a parent, I can comment on this. So many mothers that I know about, and families in general, will work another job, maybe even a job and a half, to pay to have someone else raise their kid, to have someone get paid $20 an hour and raise their precious, immeasurably perfect child. And to me, I, I love my job. I think it's great. I teach autistic students and I love it. I love the people around me. But if I could spend every second of this day teaching my daughter and helping my daughter go through this world, I would in a second. If I had all the money in the world and didn't have to think about money constantly, which I cannot stand, and I try to put out of my mind as much as possible, I would just be adoring my daughter and spending every single bit of time with her. During COVID, I loved it because I was almost mandated to stay home and be with her, and it was perfect. There was not one speck of it I wouldn't have changed, no matter how tough it was. And it is tough. And these people at this time and whatnot, and still today, are capitalizing on how tough it is. They are just, grinded in. Oh, it's this most. If you look in movies, it's incredibly painful to give birth. But if you look in some tribes and places, there are women that give birth in a totally positive, dreamlike state. No pain, all happiness, because it's a natural process. And again, this modern world takes it and steers it into a ditch and makes people fear things that they shouldn't. So again, all these articles, you can check out these articles. They're just kind of all about the incubator and different instances that occurred and raising babies by machine. So there's nothing really, they're all kind of general articles that I found here. So that's not, they'll go with the story I'm telling, but either way, the problem is that. And, motherhood is tough. All this stuff is tough, but these are, the thing that really gets me is in time, soon enough, every single parent, everyone I've talked to that's an older parent is like, God, they think about the memories that are still, the few memories that still remain of them with their children, and they treasure them like absolute, like ridiculousness. And there's so many quotes out there about people, like the only person that's going to remember that you worked overtime is you. Your child is, and your child, they're going to remember that you weren't there and that you were doing all this work and putting all these other things ahead. And that's what this slave mentality makes us do. And it seems like this whole process was designed to make women enter the slave realm, forget about the joys of motherhood and the brilliance of it, and give your child to the state. This all seems like it is like, of a communist or of a slightly evil and demoniac agenda by the controllers of America, of France, of all these so-called civilized and advanced civilizations in countries. And I think it is a big problem, and I think people are naturally steering away from it, as a lot of mothers today are realizing this. They're realizing the error of the way, and they're raising their kids and they're teaching their kids, and homeschooling is spreading because they're not just dropping their kids off and saying, oh, whatever happens to them is fine. But again, in the past, when childhood was probably even tougher, and I can understand the need for rich socialites and whatnot to a baby farm to preserve their fun existence in the socialite culture, and they don't want a baby at all hours of the day kind of doing these things that they don't want. So you stick them in an incubator for 8 months and you get that time to yourself. You give them to a baby farm and you get your time back. It's almost a natural demon-like evil solution to convince the parents and whatnot that childbearing is so tough it should be given to someone else. And then you get these immense problems, not only raising the kid and having them being raised in a complete mystery, under mystery circumstances with artificial food. You can see in some of these things they were giving artificial milk, so the mothers weren't even coming back for that a lot of times. So it's solving a problem of like infantile birth, which I think it is good for that. And I know some preemies in my family that have benefited from the incubator that probably wouldn't have survived after birth. And so that part is amazingly important. But the way they phrased it and the way they took that invention of good is I think run afoul. And I think all the videos about, were they growing babies, and then is this why like people are NPCs and soulless and stuff? No, I don't think that's really possible, or wasn't during this time. Maybe in the distant past with alchemy and whatnot, but during this time, I think they were just playing with the people. These people were not very spiritual. They were not very, they were very materialistic. And when people are overly materialistic, you can manipulate them a lot with other material things that they want in the senses, the sense overload. You can totally do it. And if someone's overloaded their senses, they have no free time anymore because the baby is crying all the time, then they're going to do whatever they can to try and get that back. And these people capitalized on it. And incubators were all over the place and everywhere. And baby farming became a thing that eventually needed to be regulated regulated because people were abusing it. Like it said, for profit. They would just take the money and run, and they knew the parents didn't care. And so the problem stems from, again, the education towards mothers for realizing how precious childbirth and this miracle of being able to give birth and procreate truly is, and all the propaganda that goes against it, which we still see today. It's the same thing, the same demons running the information supplies all over this world, and it does very detrimental damage to the family and the future of everyone, just so you can get a couple more workers in there, like doing whatever into the system that will just work and focus on work and not care for the kids, because they want the kids to be part of the state and educated by the government and in control of the government, or just not raised as strongly as they can be when they're homeschool taught and really, truly, truly cared for with pure love. And so that is where, I think the problem lies. I think a lot of the mysticism of these babies and the cloning videos and these Cabbage Patch things is, I think, just a speculation from conspiracy theorists. I really do. I haven't found anything to see otherwise, and I still am not going to put out the concept, because I think people were doing experiments, but I think the mother is the most important. For a womb cannot be artificially created, I don't think, at least yet. And if it can, it's not going to yield a spiritual, beautiful human being that would be that a mother who cherishes her child and cherishes every instant with her child. Same with a father, parents, loving parents, and a beautiful, healthy mother in womb. I don't think anything's ever going to be able to replace that. I just really don't. It is quite a process, and we are the ultimate machine, and I think that you cannot create that in a lab. That's just my feelings here, and again, it's a lot that I'm throwing out there, but this is what I believe in this area from research and from giving it a lot of thought, and from being a parent as well. So I think we should all cherish our children and every single speck of time we have, because someday they're going to be old and we're going to be like, God, that little person that I knew at age 3, at age 4, the one who's different every second, different, learning constantly. Those I would give, even right now, I would give everything I have to just be. Well, not really, because she's still young, but I can envision in the future I'd be at that in 20 years from now. I would be like, wow, I would give $1 million, or the thousands that I have, the very few. I would give everything for another moment with my 5-year-old daughter when she was 5 in her prime, just to play with her again, just to hear her voice again. Like, all these things are so important, and they convince people completely the wrong direction to just ignore your child and stuff for the sake of what? Society, culture that hates you. It's all wrong, and I feel like it's been steered wrong for a really long time, and that's what I think all of this is all about. So that's my opinion. Go out there and procreate. Be fruitful and multiply. That is the final message from saveearth.us and artofdino.com. Bless you all.